Hello folks, I'm delighted to be here today at the launch of this new Mini Cooper Electric. The last Mini Cooper Electric was a good car, but it did have one or two limitations. Certainly it could have done with a little bit more range and possibly some faster charging speeds. So let's see if this one rights those wrongs. That last one, by the way, sold 24,000 units, so it wasn't a dead loss by any means. And Mini have got really high hopes for this one. They've put a lot of work into this and they think this is going to be a big seller for the brand. And if looks are anything to go by, I have to say I agree, because this thing looks stunning. For me, it's that natural evolution of Mini from the Mini Classic days through to, you know, the BMW era. This just looks the mustard, in my opinion. They've generally simplified the design all around. However, it does have some of those modern quirks, like you've got fully customizable brake lights. You can get those to form a Union Jack pattern, all kinds of weird and wonderful things. So it hasn't taken any of the fun away, but I think the design is just stunning. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But for me, it's a great looking car, and by a country mile, I think it's the best looking Super Mini available at the moment. Now for those all important stats, the entry level E model starts at 30 grand. That gives you 290 Newton meters of torque, 190 miles of range WLTP, and a 0-62 time of 7.3 seconds. If you go for the SE or the SE Sport, you're getting a bigger battery and a bit more performance. So in this one, we've got 330 Newton meters of torque, 0-62 time of 6.7 seconds, and 249 miles of range WLTP, and 218 brake horsepower. Now, when you look at the overall design of this car, just look how far the wheels have been pushed into each corner. That should give us a very dynamic, very well handled little car. So I can't wait to get this on the road in a moment. Now, Mini's been criticised sometimes for having models like the Countryman that are more of a crossover SUV kind of thing, because people say, well, it's not very mini. This boot is very mini. It's only 210 litres, which makes it one of the smaller in its class. However, there's a very usable space, a nice big square opening, so I wouldn't particularly have a problem with a boot like that in a car like this. This is supposed to be a fun, agile little city car after all, and some of that fun's taken away if the car's 12 inches longer. And while your rear passengers are not going to have the most glamorous experience getting in and out of the back of the car here, it's actually a reasonable amount of room considering the size of the car. Headroom's decent, despite this one having a panoramic sunroof. I've probably got about 4 inches to play. I'm about 5'9". I think you'd be all right in this car at 6 foot. Knee room's perfectly adequate. It's nothing luxurious, but it's not as cramped as you might be in some small cars. This is certainly more knee room than you get in the Lexus LBX, for example, and that's a compact SUV. Foot room is okay, but generally it feels good, nice quality. We've got leatherette in here, but they've used very good leatherette. They've basically only used leatherette rather than real leather for sustainability reasons, but they've gone for something that's really good quality. I wouldn't have known if I hadn't have been told that this was not the real thing. Generally, I think your rear seat passengers, considering they're in the back of a Mini, are going to be fairly happy. Onto the interior of the car, and there's a lot to like immediately. We've got this woven material here that's 90% recycled material. I love it, actually. It doesn't feel cheap in any way, as you think recycled material may. Actually feels like really good quality, and it's something different. It's a new texture to a car. I'd much rather have that than a bit of squashy plastic, if I'm completely honest. The infotainment system is probably the star of the show here. You've got this round OLED screen. It's fantastic. It's really bright, it's vivid, it's colourful. There's not enough good things to say about that, really. You've got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, of course. Now, when you're using Apple CarPlay with this, you can see that it actually sort of puts it in a box in the middle of the screen. And that's probably just a limitation of having a circular screen. It would be very cool if Apple CarPlay took over the whole thing, but it doesn't, and you actually still get a really decent amount of real estate to play with, so no real issues with that. Now, in this system, it has got its own sat-nav system that's standard across the range. You also get augmented reality features on here. And one of the really cool little quirks of this car is we have experiences. If you want something a bit different, if you go up, you've got go-kart mode. And we're going to get a little jingle, thus. And as you can see, you've now got a very racy, very sporty looking display. It changes the sounds within the car, sort of faux engine noises. It sounds bananas, and the throttle response feels a bit more immediate, and everything about it's just much more sporty and a bit more fun. Then we've got things like green, so this one focuses on your efficiency. Not a massive surprise, is it? So you're getting a bonus of how much battery regen you're using, all this kind of stuff. We've got vivid, we've got timeless, we've got personal. This one's quite good fun because it's very customizable. You can actually put your own photo onto that screen, so you can have a picture of your kids or something that I'm sure would give them a buzz, or whatever you want. It could be your favorite band or your favorite holiday destination. But the point is, you can really make the car your own. And it's amazing how much changing the experience mode in the car really does change the experience. It sounds a very cheesy thing to say, but I get it. And what seems like a bit of a gimmick, actually, it's really quite cool in practice. The steering wheel is wrapped in this sustainable leather material. It feels great under the hand, very chunky. Perhaps too chunky for some, but I personally love a chunky steering wheel. We've got lovely thumb controls, proper buttons and dials rather than silly haptics. And I wouldn't change anything about it. I think it's fantastic. Simple controls. We don't have buttons for indicators or anything daft like that on this one. Now, to power the car on, we've got something that resembles a key that you give a twist down here, and a very simple little switch for the gear shifter. We've got a proper volume dial, so you can easily mute the stereo if you need to. But the aircon controls are not physical, they are on this OLED screen. We've got a wireless phone charger and 2 USB-C sockets down here, double cup holder and a little bit of storage, and a very nice armrest. Now, this car comes with electric seats and they're trimmed in sustainable materials. All feels great, really comfortable, and a fantastic lumbar support. It's not really possible to not find a perfect driving position in this car. This one's also got a big panoramic sunroof, ideal for a day like today. This cabin feels absolutely fantastic and very, very mini. Great work. I'm hoping it comes as no surprise to you that when you first get in the Mini Cooper electric, it feels fairly firm in terms of the suspension. In a lot of cars that would be a bit of a negative thing, firm suspension, but in this I wouldn't have it any other way, because the car feels absolutely planted in the corners. This chassis has obviously been designed for the enthusiast driver. It just feels great. You can chuck it into corners at seemingly any speed and it will just stick to the road. It's so well done. It's so compliant. I love it. It's a great chassis, and yes, you do feel some bangs and crashes when you go on uneven surfaces, but I'm happy, really happy. Now, this car's got a decent 0 to 62 time, 6.7 seconds, nothing amazing by modern EV standards, but in a car which is essentially a go-kart, you know, you're very low to the ground, you've got a wheel pushed right into each corner, the perception of speed is very great. So it certainly feels more than quick enough at 6.7 seconds. But when you floor the car from a standing start, it does struggle a little bit to find traction at times. And then once you get traction, you can get a bit of torque steer. So it is a little bit of a monster. You do have to wrestle with it a bit, but only really in that scenario. That's the only time I've found that to be an issue, and it might be an issue that actually you really enjoy. Where this car really excels though is on the B roads, the A roads, on the twisty stuff, because not only is it planted, as I've already said, you're always in the absolute sweet spot of the rev range. Obviously there is no rev range, it's an electric vehicle, but you don't have to learn anything, you don't have to prepare for anything. You've always got all the power when you want it and exactly where you want it. It's very clever and very well engineered. I'm in some fairly bendy stuff right now, and with the addition of go-kart mode, oh, what a car this thing is. Every fibre in my body wants to take this home. I want to care for it. I want to wrap it in blankets, and I want to make it cups of tea. I think I'm in love. I have to say, folks, I've always had a soft spot for minis, particularly the BMW minis. I know that's controversial. I love the classic minis. I really love the classic minis. But as a driving experience, I tend to prefer the BMW minis. And I've always liked what they've done with the styling. I know it's massively controversial with, you know, classic mini enthusiasts when BMW took over the brand, but I think they've done an amazing job with it. I think it's an evolution of Mini, and this car really stays true to those Mini values. You know, the fact that it's such great fun, it's an engaging drive, it's an electric car that's engaging, and there aren't so many of those around. There are fantastic electric cars on the market. I've got an electric car at home that I think is brilliant, but it's not an engaging drive. It's just brilliant in pretty much every other way. This is an engaging drive. It ticks that box. And whilst some of the BMW Minis have had 1 or 2 reliability issues over the years, this electric one, there are very few oily bits to actually go wrong. And as far as small cars go, if ever there's one that's should be really well suited to being an electric car, it's this one. It's that go-kart experience, it's that handling, it's the fact you've always got all the power exactly where you need it. This car just delivers on all those fronts. Oh. On to something far more boring, but this car's a piece of cake to park as well. Every car comes with parking assistant, and I think in July there's going to be an over-the-air software update that will give remote parking access, certainly on some of the trims, if not all of them. And not only is it small and therefore nice and easy to park, but the turning circle's such, and the car's just so nimble, it feels like you can get it into the tightest of spaces with minimal effort. Speaking of those specs, every car is really well spec'd as standard. There are different levels of trim, so you've got standard trim, then you've got level 1, 2, 3 and 4. But standard trim's generous. You know, every car's getting sat-nav, every car's getting that parking assistant. And these are the kind of things that are often in option packs in other vehicles. There are no standalone options apart from paint colours. You know, you are sort of fixed with those particular trim levels, but it makes life nice and easy and very customisable and configurable, despite the fact that you can't just bolt on one particular thing. As I said at the start of this video, this SE Sport model starts about 34.5 grand, but the one I'm in is absolutely fully loaded, so it's more like 43 grand. And obviously that's strong money for what is a small car, but it's a very strong car, and I can't overstate that really. It's a very, very good car, and quite a different proposition to almost anything else out there in the market right now. It's just so much fun. It just puts a great smile on your face when you drive it, and I think a lot of people are going to consider this new Mini electric that perhaps wouldn't have gone for the previous one. By the way, if you'd like to see how much it would cost you to lease a new Mini Cooper, click the link to Lease Loco in the video description. It will take you to all the latest best deals on the Mini Cooper petrol and electric options at the time you click that button, and it helps support the channel, so please do it. That brings to an end my day with this fantastic Mini Cooper electric. I hope the level of dirt on the car shows you just how much fun I've had with it. It's a phenomenal piece of kit. It's so well engineered. It's got fun, quirky bits without sort of feeling naff. It's got a massively engaging driving experience, which is something that not all EVs have managed to do. And it's just bags of fun. I'm going to grin for a week after. In fact, no, I'm going to cry for a week, because I need one of these now. I need one in my life. It's brilliant. I love it. It's the best small electric car I've driven. You know, it really is. There are probably better all-round electric cars that don't have some of the limitations of this one, like a small boot and, you know, rear doors and things like that. But this is not really a family car. It's a city car. It's a super mini. It's a fun car. Most households could live with one of these as a second car, and I certainly could. if you've got the budget for one of these and you're in any way on the fence about whether it might be for you or not, just go and test drive one. That's all it will take. I strongly feel after a test drive, you're going to think it definitely is for you because it's just that good. But just go out and get in one. It's a brilliant thing. The price might be a challenge for some. It's £7,000 more than the petrol version for the electric version. But when you think about it, you've got fewer oily bits. The running costs are going to be a fraction if you can actually charge the thing from home. And that performance is just great. It really does suit being an electric car. I'm sure the petrol one's fantastic as well, but this is very well suited to that electric platform. Folks, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It's completely free and only takes you a second. Something else that's free is subscribing to my channel. I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers this year and I'd love you to be one of them. So please hit that button. It only takes a second. And please follow me elsewhere on social media. All my links will pop up at the end of this video. And of course, if you are interested in leasing the new Mini, that link to Lease Loco is in the video description and pinned as the top comment. And it helps support the channel. Thanks ever so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.